Hey, everybody. Welcome to Be a Better Human. My name is Ryan Schreins. I'm here with Luke Westlake. We're the hosts of the Be a Better Human podcast. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This podcast is sponsored by Rode Microphones. We want to thank them for the mics for our podcast. And just while we get into it here, a disclaimer: Luke and I are not medical professionals, so the things that you'll hear tonight are things that are recommendations, things that are things we've tried, things that have worked for us, things that Chandler knows through his schooling and his time and his career, but we are not medical doctors. So please, what works for us may or may not work for you. And feel free to start commenting below on any questions that you may have for us or Chandler. We'll make sure to get to as many of those as we possibly can. Um, Note that this is real and raw. This is what we do here at Be a Better Human, as we talk about things that sometimes people don't necessarily get to talk about, and we get to the heart of the matter. So I really appreciate you taking time out this evening to jump on with us, and I look forward to introducing you in a few moments to Chandler. Um, Chandler MacIntyre is very, very good guy. For those of you that are in London, Canada, like me and Luke are, you'll know him from his time at Healthy Planet up in North London, and um, and that's certainly where I met him and where I know him from. He's also a customer at our store at Music City, which is oddly weird. We found that out when we kind of ran into each other, and he found out what I did. So that's pretty cool. He studies holistic nutrition and culinary at this Canadian School of National Nutrition, and he's worked at Healthy Planet for 2 years. We're going to get him on in just a few minutes. Want to thank everybody once again for coming on this evening and for laughing. We had quite a few people view it afterwards as well, and fire us a few comments and things. So we tried to get back to as many people as we can. If you want us to get to any of your questions tonight, please feel free to message us below in the comments. Or if there's anything that you don't want to put out publicly, you can feel free to shoot us a private message, either Luke or I personally, or on the actual Be a Better Human page, as I know there's sometimes things that are sensitive that you don't necessarily want to put out there on the actual live stream here. So we're just going to double check on Chandler here to make sure he's okay. He was just getting back. Of course, he works at Healthy Planet, so they close up around 8 o'clock. So I think he's just getting live. But we got a bit of time tonight, so we're not in a hurry. Um, that being said, I'm just going to double check that he's on his way here. There we go. So yeah, just what you're going to hear tonight is we're going to talk about front lines. We're going to talk about him being on the front lines. I was there today, this morning, and I saw him dressed in a mask and a gown and gloves, and looked like he was going into surgery. And that's what it is right now. I was at the TD Bank today, and there was a line down the street. It's pretty incredible. So it's getting interesting out there. Talked to quite a few people today, at these places that I had to go to for my family, and yeah, it's getting pretty interesting. And we're still out of cleaning supplies at most of the places in town, which, for those of you tuning in from outside of the London area, I'm not sure how it is other places, but feel free to comment and let us know. There's certain things that I guess we're sort of short on right now. Toilet paper apparently though isn't one of them. There's mounds of toilet paper, it seems like, at certain stores here in the city, I can tell. So those toilet paper hoarders out there, they're kicking themselves now, I suppose. Um, but yeah, that's from what I'm seeing out there, from my travels today. That's kind of what it's all about. It looks like places like Costco are full up, um, and some of the grocery stores. There's lots of organic produce and stuff like that, which I'm really that part is really shocking me. Actually, I'm a big organic food buyer. I really like the taste of organic, and I was really worried that because I'm keto, so a lot of my diet is vegetables and stuff, and I was really concerned about that, and I was really shocked, even now, to see that it's basically full up at a lot of the stores that I go to for a lot of the things that I need for organic, let alone non-organic. Now, there's always things that are out. I mean, not to say that everything is in abundance right now, because that's not true. Um, but certainly there's quite a few things that are decently stocked. So good on the grocery stores and the managers and the purchasers and the frontline staff at those stores for keeping things rocking, because they're doing an absolute rock star job. and the truck drivers and the distribution center people. I mean, those people are literally risking their lives every day. Costco is the wildest for me. They literally wash the entire terminal down every single time I go in there. It's
Hmm.
crazy. After every person, they wash the terminal down. Yeah, Luke, by the way, is for everybody that doesn't know, Luke's been in kind of an isolated state there at his place for what
Yeah.
now? A couple weeks.
Oh,
So
6 weeks
Luke's laughing because
maybe.
he hasn't seen this. You
I
haven't
think
seen
I've
the
been in here
Costco
for about six weeks so far.
6 weeks.
I got prepped early. I was ready to go.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And you know what? The more we, I'm a firm believer of the curve deal too. I mean, the more people who have a potential to be infected that are out there, the worse this thing is going to get. So the more of us that can do our due diligence and stay in and stay safe,
Hmm.
right now, the best for everybody, and the best for the curve, and the best for getting out of our houses as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah, we're all excited to get back out. And I have Crohn's disease, so I'm a bit immunocompromised, as they say. So I'm taking it, extra precautions at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, I went out today to get some groceries, and I had to deliver some groceries to my family. So, for those of you that do have to go out, as they've already instructed, of course, but just to reiterate, please make sure it's just one person going out and risking that for the family, because it's one of those things where the more people that go out, the worse this thing is going to get. Um, and so, I've been chosen as the one for my family.
You are the one.
I'm the one, and I'm the one for several people's families. And you know what? I'm totally okay with it. I'm totally, totally okay with it. And I think we're about 30 seconds away from having Chandler on here. I just got a message from him, so I really want to, you know, thank him when he gets on here for his time, because, he's slugging it out, like I said, every day in the store there every single day. He's working crazy hours right now. So for him to take the time out tonight after such a long shift today, means a lot to me and Luke, and I'm sure it means a lot to some of the people on the stream as well. I do know that there's a couple of people that know him that are tuning in. I know I got some word from a couple of people that there were some people that know him that are tuning in, and I really want to thank those people for coming in and listening to us chat, because he's got a wealth of information. So as we get rolling here, guys, there's going to be lots of stuff that's layman, and there's going to be lots of stuff that he's going to throw out there that's maybe a little bit more intense. If there's anything that you don't quite understand about the stuff that he's going to cover with regards to immune system and nutrition, all the things we're going to cover, please feel free to throw something in the comments. I'll make sure to moderate the comments as we go, and I'll make sure that I'm bringing it up to him, that we can make sure everybody understands what he's talking about clearly, because we really, really want to make sure that everybody gets the most out of this, and that they clearly understand what kind of things that they can do to help build their immune system and be safe right now. So
Hmm.
so yeah, there you go. So yeah, he should be in. He said about 30 seconds. So about 5 seconds from now.
All
Just
right.
there he is.
There's the man.
Here he is. Let's see. We got audio. Yeah, he's coming in. Chandler, are you there?
Hello,
All
Hey,
right.
I am here.
That's great.
welcome.
Welcome,
Welcome
sir.
to Be a Better Human. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I said it before you hopped on, but I just want to say it again. Thank you so much for coming on. But mostly after you've done this crazy long shift today and every day at the Old Healthy Planet, it's I'm sure it's been an adventure and a half over there.
Oh man, it's been a wild.
No?
A little bit of internet issues. This is
Yeah.
episode 2, so
Yeah, it
we're
is
still
episode 2,
getting.
so we're allowed. Sorry about that. So yeah, we've got a lot of things to get to, so let's get to them. Chandler, as I mentioned, I already did a bit of an intro, but I'll do it over, just for anyone that's hopped on recently. So Chandler MacIntyre, everybody, studying holistic nutrition and culinary at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. Worked in London, Canada at Healthy Planet for 2 years, and currently on the front lines. As I said earlier, you've got um, Oh, did we lose him? I think we lost him.
He's
Oh no.
back.
There we go.
We're good. All right. Yeah. So he's been on the front lines, folks, at Healthy Planet. And Chandler, why don't you tell us what that's all about? I saw you today there. You had the gloves on, the mask, the whole
I
nine
had
yards.
had the gown. Healthy Planet's been doing a great job at giving us as many supplies as possible to protect ourselves, physically and mentally. They're doing a lot more than just a financial raise, or they've been just overall giving us nothing but support through all this. Even for people who can't make it in, it's we just started curbside pickup. So basically, people can call in or email their orders in. We process their orders within about 24 hours, and then we do their order over the phone, and do the actual payment over the phone. So whether they're paying through credit card, we'll just dial the credit card in right over the phone, and then that way they can just come straight to the store. They don't even have to walk in. They can stay in their car. We'll put it in the trunk, put it in their back seat, whatever they want.
Amazing.
So it's been pretty cool seeing that. We got probably about 10 or 15 orders today just at this location. So
Amazing.
and it's only been like the third or fourth day of us doing this. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for everything you do there, man. I mean, I was there today and got my order, and I'll be back again. I got to grab a couple things there in the morning, but I'm sure there's a lot of people not only here in London, Canada, but across Canada that are shopping at places like Healthy Planet that really value what you're doing out there. So thanks again.
I really appreciate that.
So let's just jump into it here. We want to talk about immune systems, because right now, as you know, there's no real cure for this thing per se. There's lots of things in trial. There's lots of things that have been tried, tested. Some stuff has worked 100%. Some stuff has worked a little bit. There's lots of different theories and whatnot. But one of the things that's consistent to every single human is that we all share in the fact that we have an immune system. And some people's immune systems are weaker, some people's immune systems are stronger. And I just want to get to sort of your take on some of the things that we can do to build better immune systems. And I know that you want to talk a bit about the ideology of a weakened immune system. And so why don't you just jump into that and sort of give us like a sort of an overall view of what your take is on that.
Yeah, thanks. Really high influx and a dynamic range of customers and people coming in with numerous conditions, pre-existing conditions, immunocompromised conditions, all sorts of different allergies and intolerances. So that alone, you got to take with an air of caution, because not everybody can support their immune system in the same way. We're all biochemically different. So, that's one thing that we also need to understand, is that we can't generalize anything for anybody. There's a lot of things that we can take for preventative measures, but everything needs to be tailored to the individual. So there's a lot of questions and just basic outlines that you can give for yourself to really pinpoint what direction you can go. So whether it's through supplementation or through your own diet, where you can make changes, and through your own lifestyle traits, and sleep, there's numerous things. So whether you need to address your diet intake first, that's usually one of the first things I look at. And then, of course, looking into their lifestyle, what they do from a day-to-day basis, what they're doing for work, what types of stress factors do they have, all of those things come into play. If they're on prescriptions, if they're on any type of other supplements, or if they're taking different types of herbs together in combination with those things, that all comes into factor there too. So we do have a big issue with sleep. I think a lot of people struggle with sleep on a day-to-day basis. People are coming in for sleep supplements every single day. So that's something that also needs to be addressed too, because it's something that people overlook is their sleep quality. Not only with just how many hours they're getting, but just with how they feel when they wake up, what else they're doing before and after getting ready for bed. If they have a lot of, electronics around them, or, they have other underlying conditions that are waking them up throughout the night. All of these things play a big factor into immune system function. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, the sleeping things is big for everybody. I mean, I know that in early days, my sleeping wasn't very good either going into this thing, and I made sure to try and rest up as much as I can. Me and Luke did a lot of research before we started the podcast, and so there was obviously a number of days, right, Luke, where we were we were up pretty late and working on the research for this thing.
And we both have young kids, and
Yeah,
sometimes they have other plans for us.
yeah. So once in a while, we got to kind of, okay, I'll call you back. So it's been an adventure and a half, but yeah, no, sleep is a huge factor. I agree. There's absolutely no doubt about it, and there's lots of factors. Now, so what's your recommendation with regards to people who are having sort of sleep issues? Like, what's your recommendation in terms of them being able to get a better night's sleep and start somewhere? In the last episode, we talk about taking it in steps. What's the first step, right? Like, from your standpoint, what do you think the first step should be for people who are having sleep issues?
Well, first I like to analyze what the actual issue is, because if a person's having an issue falling asleep versus waking up throughout the night and having sleep disturbances, those are two completely different protocols as far as like what can be done. If it's a matter of them like slowing down their nervous system before bed and getting them to calm down and relax before bed so that they can actually go to sleep and fall asleep. There's a few different ways you can go with doing that. You can do the herbal based, or take something as simple as melatonin, or a combination of herbs and melatonin together. GABA, 5-HTP, valerian root, lemon balm, passion flower, cramp bark. Even taking something as simple as magnesium, just as muscle relaxant, to be able to either consume it or use it topically or subdermally through the skin is a great way to absorb it. Whether you put magnesium flakes in your bathtub, or magnesium oil, or magnesium sprays. There's tablets, there's pills, veggie caps, liquids, powders, different types of effervescent drinks. Like, there's so many different ways to get magnesium into you. And you don't just have to consume it.
Now, magnesium, I want to bring this up because I was going to bring it up later on, but I'm going to bring it up now. There's an incredible amount of brands out there, and there's an incredible amount of types of different supplements out there. So when we talk about magnesium, there's a lot of people who are going to not only tune in now, but are going to watch this throughout the next little while. And those people are going to say, yeah, I'm on magnesium. But as we all know, there's different magnesiums, different brands, different types, different potencies, different, but even how your body metabolizes it, right? Some people will be able to metabolize one brand really, really good, but then another brand, it does nothing for them. So they're like, oh, I've been taking magnesium, it does nothing for me.
Exactly.
So I think it's important for you to outline sort of that, just sort of let us know your take on that with regards to something like magnesium, or even vitamin C. There's tons of people right now doing vitamin C like crazy, and they could just be going to the average store and grabbing just whatever vitamin C off the shelf. And I don't necessarily think they realize that not all supplements are created equally. And for that matter, you can buy the most expensive supplement out there. I as far as the research I've done, even the most expensive supplement may or may not work for each individual person. So can you sort of give us your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, like some people come into the store and they say, "Oh, I'm looking for magnesium." It's like, it's a very bad question. There's at least over 10 different types of magnesium that we carry in the store, let alone the forms. So again, like I was saying, like there's topical sprays, there's magnesium flakes, there's powders, there's capsules, there's liquids, drinks. Like, another thing with magnesium too is like if you take too much magnesium, like internally, depending on the form, like it can cause diarrhea and laxative effects, and it could relax your bowels too much. So, looking at the form of magnesium, which a lot of cheaper brands or a lot of like lower quality brands use high amounts of magnesium oxide is usually what causes a lot of laxative effects. So, if people are saying like, oh yeah, like I take lots of magnesium, it gives me cramps, like I don't have the best digestion with it, I feel, but it's usually about dosaging and type. So magnesium bisglycinate, for example, they add a glycine molecule to it, so it can actually get into the intestinal tract and into the bloodstream without causing a laxative effect. So bisglycinate versus like just citrate or just oxide, aspartate, malate. A lot of these companies even have different forms that they can combine together, so you can get a full complex, a full spectrum, and not just one form of magnesium, so your body can at least try to absorb as many different types as possible.
Right.
So yeah,
does it make sense for people to if they're not successful, let's say on a certain magnesium or a certain vitamin C or whatever the supplement is it makes sense for them to sort of, whether it's Healthy Planet or wherever it is, wherever they're tuning in from, obviously people don't necessarily have a Healthy Planet, but should the recommendation then be that they should try different forms as well as different brands to make sure to see what works best for them and not just
definitely, because like even in the bisglycinate form, there's a lot of research showing that some of these companies are getting audited or like tested for their purity. So that's something to look out for too. Every company manufactures differently, has different manufacturing, processing, and different sourcing for that matter too, as far as where their magnesium is being sourced from or what they're deriving it from, how they're extracting it, what they're binding it to, all sorts of different things. The non-medical ingredients, a lot of these things.
Yeah, that's my wife. I was at your place the other day, and my wife was kicking me in the butt. I don't know if you remember about the non-medical ingredients.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't even realize. A lot of people don't even realize, right? Like you go to the shelf and you buy magnesium, and you think, oh, it's magnesium, but there's all kinds of fillers and corn this, and it's insane, the stuff. If you don't look, you don't know. But as soon as you start looking, it's insane what you find, right?
Oh yeah.
These things. And so people try to look, like try to read the labels, and know what you're taking in, because right now consuming any kind of glycol or sugar or any of that stuff is not necessarily what you want to do. Now if there's nothing cleaner on the shelf, then you got to do what you got to do, right? But I would guess that you'd agree with me. You're shaking your head yes, so I guess you would agree with me on that.
Well, yeah, and even too with food-derived supplements, vitamins, like a lot of people don't realize, like you can get a large amount of magnesium from cacao and cacao nibs and cacao husk, and doing cacao husk tea. So if you don't want to take like an elemental magnesium, where it's or a synthetic form, then you can easily get it naturally occurring in food, or like I said, just drink a cacao tea with, tastes more like a chocolate tea. Like it's very easy to add into smoothies or protein shakes. That's like one of the highest naturally occurring sources of magnesium. So
awesome.
Like there's so many different in.
Right. Now, so in terms of the situation we're all in right now, what are because money's not endless for everybody, right? So
Right.
in an ideal world we'd all have lots of money and we could buy everything we need, but again, sort of first steps, obviously once they get into it, they start building their immune system, they start feeling better, they can get on the train with everything. But, why don't we give some people some building blocks? Like, what are some of the things that you recommend they start getting into right off the bat, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever things? Like, what are the first things that they should be getting on right away to help build their immune system for what we're fighting right now?
Sorry, it just broke up a little bit at the
Oh,
end
no
there.
worries. So what are some of the things that in the beginning, sort of the building blocks, like the first, second, third, like what are some of the things that people should be getting to build their immune system right now? No, did we lose him?
Oh, we might have lost him.
Oh,
He's
we're still
reconnecting
there.
now.
Yeah,
There we go.
there we go. Yeah. So what are some of the things that people
There
can, again, money's not endless. So what are some of the things that people can get in, the first kind of, 2, 3, 4 things they should be picking up to build their immune system, uh, as we sort of fight this thing that we're experiencing right now?
A lot of people don't realize like probiotics, massive, man. Like that's a huge thing. Can easily be done. Simple, just like a one a day tablet or capsule or powder, however, whatever method of probiotics. And there's so many different foods that are so highly abundant in probiotics too. That's like that is a very easy way, a very cost effective way uh, uh, of getting some good immune support right off the hop. Um, you know, Another thing too, big thing in school is just like ACEs and zinc. So like vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, zinc, and making sure that copper balance is good there too if you're taking too much zinc. But yeah, those are some nice essential vitamins and minerals that can be added in as just basic fundamental, like, to help even just optimize functionality of the person, or if they're at any sort of deficiency levels, being able to get those levels back up to a maintenance level where their body's able to function properly. It's make sure just full mineral spectrum is very key. So like zinc, magnesium, iron, selenium, copper, like all those things can really, really, really help with immune. And again, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, massive for immune support. Vitamin E, your full spectrum of B vitamins. Getting a good B complex is very important. So right off the top, probiotics, a good multivitamin and mineral would be very recommended, because a lot of these things will have a full spectrum of those minerals and vitamins. Only have pro doses of all of them. So you got to either take multiple a day or get a really comprehensive one a day tablet or something. That's one of the easiest ways to do it. Getting some good essential fatty acids, that's huge too. So whether you're getting your omegas, through supplements or through food, whole fats are definitely best. Like I try to push whole food grade fats as much as possible.
Now, for those people that don't know what whole food grade fats are, can you give us a few examples of that?
Yeah, like there's just different nuts and seeds, like whole seeds, raw seeds, so that the fat is unadulterated. It's not manipulated in any way. It's not like roasted or deep fried and salted or sugared and flavored. A lot of people just think, oh, I'm eating peanuts with roasted salted peanuts. Like the fat content, it's more of a trans fat. So compared to just raw peanuts, for example, completely different fat structure. So like completely different way of metabolizing the body. Getting some good quality oils that you're cooking with is huge too. Like a lot of people just eating like canola oil and vegetable oil and just hydrogenated oils in general, like in plastic bottles. You know, there's a lot of issues there. A lot of refinement. There's a lot of studies being done right now, just about different effects of oils in the body. So, you know, I think we're going to see quite a bit of information coming out in regards to the efficacy and safety of oils moving forward. But
Now, would you recommend things like grass-fed butter, grass-fed beef, stuff like that?
definitely,
Fish
if
oils.
accessible, and yeah, fish oils are another great form if applicable. And the thing with fish oils though is there's a lot of differentials between company to company and where they're sourcing their fish. You know,
What's number
how
one?
they're
Like again, so sort of building blocks. What's the one people should look out for? Like, is krill, is that like the go-to, or I guess it depends, right?
it really depends because there's a lot of processing with krill as well. So like there's you know there's a lot of different things like you know, looking at how the company's manufacturing, their extraction methods, how they're extracting it, what they're extracting it with, you know, even just their facility in general, as far as where it is in the world, where are their fish coming from. You know, some of these companies have extensive certifications for testing and contamination. So, you know, IFOS is just an example. You know, these guys are based out of Guelph. You know, they're a third-party testing agency that tests for heavy metal contaminations in fish. So, you know, they'll check the levels and do independent testing on that. And some of these companies are actually certified. So it's
Do you have one or two favorite brands?
well, generally I try not to discuss brand to brand as much as possible, but yeah, there's you know, we have a numerous array of naturopathic prescription based companies that we're licensed to carry. Like Genestra is a very good company. NFH, New Roots, even Camprev. They do some really high potency extracts as well. Aqua Omega. Those guys are got some of the highest EPA extractions right now. So there's a lot of different ways to look at that. You know, even looking at the type of fish. Like, you know, some of these have like 4 or 5 different types of fish that they're extracting. You know, some of these companies just have one. You know, so a lot of those companies will make claims, so they'll show exactly what fish they're extracting it from. Green Pasture is another one. They have like different fermented fish oils. Those would be some of my top picks. As far as affordability goes, New Roots for quality and for affordability. Excellent,
Well, that's a big
excellent
one
option.
for you guys. You guys carry a lot of their products.
Yeah. You know, even Genestra, like their price points are very good for their quality. And their processing too. You know, a lot of these companies, they have their extraction methods and everything posted on their websites. You know, explaining a lot further in detail than I can on exactly how they're doing it or what they're extracting it from, their dosaging, everything too. EPA and fish oil. So this is one thing I do want to break down to is just how omegas convert and what you need as a base. So there's a lot of confusion around that because some people think you can just eat flax oil or eat, you know, hemp oil or eat any oil and then you're getting omegas from that. Like, yes, that is true, but there's different properties of those omegas. So you have EPA, which your body needs to convert a lot of those oils into. So flax oil, you know, it's not readily in EPA form. Like your body actually needs to convert into that. And not everybody has the ability to convert those oils, right? So that's a huge thing too. You know, you have like ahi flower oil, for example, which has like 3 to 4 times greater EPA conversion than flax. A lot of people don't know that. It's hard to find. And you know, it's in a liquid form, so you could put it on salads. You could, you know, take it by the spoon each day. Like there's different ways to do that, and all depend on the person's, you know, has specific restrictions, you know, vegan or vegetarian, or, you know, if they're pescatarian specifically, like, you know, like a lot of those things too, because I have a lot of plant-based customers who don't want fish oil. So algae oils are a big thing on the market right now. Thing with algae oil, that's great, is that it's still in a vegan format, and you're already getting the EPA and DHA there. Like it's already present, so your body doesn't need to convert. The only issue is that it doesn't have anywhere near the amount of EPA and DHA readily available compared to fish oil. So,
Right. I just wanted to just take a second. If anybody has any questions about what we're talking about or anything that Chandler's covered so far, please feel free to throw them in the comments there. And I just wanted to rewind to one thing. I made a note to come back to, because you're defining, you know, oils, but the very first thing you said was important was probiotics. And I just wanted you to touch for a second on probiotics, because probiotics, a lot of people are gonna, you know, they're gonna watch this, they're gonna say, "Oh, I take probiotics. I got probiotics in my yogurt, or you know, something I'm eating." Can you sort of give us a bit of a, can you tell us more about the differences? Oh, did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Oh, well, wait a second for him to hop back on. He's we're susceptible to the internet signal wherever he's at. Yeah, I'd love to get his take on, because I know there is a definite difference between people that are consuming even different types of yogurt and different types of things that have probiotics in them. So I'd like to get his take on that, because there's lots of people out there that don't necessarily supplement with probiotics.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there's definitely something to be said about that. Are you doing probiotics right now, by the way, Luke?
Yeah, I do a Genestra brand. I've been taking Genestra for a long time. Actually, 13 years ago when I was diagnosed with Crohn's, it was pretty much all Genestra brand stuff that that my naturopath had me working on, and you know, it was quite a recovery in just a few weeks. I'd gone from being you know, basically where a doctor told me I needed surgery or I would die, to being at a point where I was in pretty good shape. In fact, better shape than I'd ever been in my life before that point. So, you know, I can definitely speak to the quality. And again, it's not as cheap as some of the other brands, but it's not outrageous by any means.
Right. So, you know, what about even in terms of the, you know, because there are people, again, that, you know, I like to keep it real. You know, we talk about keeping it real and keeping it raw. You know, there's people going to watch this that straight up just can't afford to buy copious amounts of supplements. So if they're out there already buying yogurt anyway, you know, in your opinion, what should they be looking for? You know, because I know I picked some yogurt up today for my grandmother, and it's a decent brand, but I know that there's better stuff out there that she could be getting, and it's not my place to say otherwise. She's a very picky eater, so
Well,
I'm not going to try and change her, you know, at this point. But I would love for there to be people out there that would take that chance and switch over to something better. So, you know, sort of what's your take on that, Luke?
Well, speaking to yogurt, I'm not really the guy to talk about that because I don't know if I've ever really had yogurt, and especially in the last 13 years because I've avoided dairy at all
Oh,
costs.
you're right. You're the day then.
Yeah, so I'm allergic to dairy, so I avoid it. But I would say that, like Chandler was saying, the new roots again, like it's something that like get whatever yogurt you like. Like I would say try to get something that's not got a lot of sugar added to it, or even a lot of fruit added to it. But yeah, you would get your probiotics from a probiotic instead of trying to get it through a yogurt. I can't really speak to it, so I haven't done the research on it. But I can't imagine that even if you're eating a lot of yogurt, that's going to be enough in terms of supplementing a probiotic, especially in a age like this. Even like my son John, he's definitely not allergic to dairy, and he eats yogurt like it's going out of style. But we still give him, and I can't remember I think it's a Genestra as well, but we definitely give him probiotics every day. So
Yeah,
it's one of those things where I think yeah, like you want to go and just a budget for it. New Roots, of course, like we've said, is really good price point for the quality. You know, I'm not the professional like Chandler, but like there's certain brands like Jameson, that kind of stuff, like Shoppers Drug Mart stuff. You don't want to necessarily mess around with that. Like I would suggest that no matter what you're doing in terms of starting out, you definitely want to go to a place like Healthy Planet or Quartermasters or Linda's or Homeopathy London. Speak to somebody who knows what they're talking about, has the education, and they'll be able to help you out because like people will have different reasons for taking probiotics, or people will have different reasons for taking magnesium. Um, so getting their opinion and even being able to help them help you experiment with it, they're going to just lead you down a path that gets you to a point where you're going to find what works best for you, and you're not going to have to spend a whole lot of money on it. Again, like this is the thing, right? Like when you're looking at building or rebuilding or improving your immune system and your health, it's you need to allocate money to it. You're adding something in, like maybe there's something that you can take away. Maybe there's like right now, obviously, there's things that we're not spending money on. So maybe think about, and again, I know that times
very
are tight, but yeah, like you definitely want to prioritize your health because now, especially now, is the time to do that. We all have the time and we have the space, and I think we have the need for it, you know.
absolutely. One of the things he's going to be back on in a second here. It looks to me like his phone actually probably died, but he's going to be back on a couple seconds. I know one of the things he hasn't touched on yet, Luke. Are you doing any selenium?
Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, selenium is a really good thing to be taking right now. A natural form of selenium, one of the natural forms of selenium is Brazil nuts. I have some too, actually, Luke. But for those of you like me, they're on keto trying to lose weight. Brazil nuts are a little higher in calories than, but I mean, at this time, beggars can't be choosers, right? So hey, there he is. We got him back.
I'm back.
Yes, sir. We're just talking about we were talking about probiotics. We're just talking about selenium, but why don't we just rewind for a second, and can you give us your 2 cents on probiotics in a food form like a yogurt and versus a supplement, and to further that, if people are doing the yogurt thing for whatever reason, including finances, talk to me about the difference between sort of an inexpensive yogurt versus like a Greek, more, like a better quality yogurt. Because I think there's a big misconception out there that when someone says, hey, you should be eating yogurt, people immediately run to the store and buy the thing that's on sale 2 for 1 that's full of sugar. So can you sort of elaborate on all of that for me?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I could start off. Canada Food Guide no longer has dairy on it, so that's number one.
Wow, I didn't
I
know
could
that.
just, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. So dairy is no longer on the Canadian food pyramid. So that was a humongous change for the entire dairy industry, and just for Canada overall. That was a massive change. That was almost one of the staples in food spectrum as far as what should be in our diet. Another thing is that dairy is one of the highest allergenic food groups there is, and it's extremely mucus forming. So, um, just with everything going on right now, you know, we need to try to keep mucus levels at a low. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
um,
That's a good point.
so, you know, drinking and consuming dairy in these times is pretty risky, as far as what it can do and the implications that it can have, or implications, sorry, that it can have on the body. Just there's other forms of yogurt or other ways to get it in without having dairy. So that is an option. Another thing on that too is the quality of that yogurt is one of the most important things to look at. That's overlooked massively. Um, Not only what the cow is eating, um, but what their environment that they're living in. How it's being processed and manufactured and extracted is the biggest point there. If you can get grass fed or pasture raised cows, organic raised cows, there's lots of different places that you can find that. Uh, so that's a tough one because there are a lot of people that consume dairy on a day-to-day basis,
Absolutely.
uh, that don't have issues. There's a lot of nutrients within dairy itself, and different supplemental products that are dairy derived. Like look at protein, right? Like protein is very essential for supporting the immune system too, but there's many forms and sources of protein as well. So a lot of people just go right to whey protein when they want to get a protein shake, but whey is milk derived. So, and there's a lot of different forms of whey as well. So that's a huge thing. A lot of people get indigestion and bloating and upset stomach, and a lot of their definition goes away, and they feel swollen almost because they either have an underlying sensitivity or intolerance to it. Allergies form very quickly with overexposure too. So someone who is consuming dairy their whole life, they didn't have issues before, and now all of a sudden they're breaking out in their skin, or again they have indigestion and they're bloating all the time from it. Those are some signs right away that you should probably maybe cut back on the dairy. So
Absolutely. And
So
and that being said, like, are you specifically talking cow's dairy or all dairy? Because there's obviously different forms of dairy, right?
yeah, just in general, there there's different pH levels, different calcium levels, different protein levels, different milk fat percentages from all these things, like different enzymes that are in these different dairies. So like someone who's lactose intolerant, for example, can consume goat milk or sheep milk or water buffalo milk, compared to someone drinking cow's milk, or even like the A2, the golden Guernsey cows. A lot of people with those issues can still drink that milk. Very, very tremendous growth factors that a lot of dairy has in a lot of people, especially, babies um, and young children developing. and having moderate amounts, I'm sure is to each their own, right? It's
Absolutely.
So
So
just in terms of getting probiotics, I guess what I was saying while you were gone there for a minute, I was saying that like I'm actually super allergic to dairy myself, and I haven't really done the research too much in terms of yogurt and probiotics and stuff like that. So at that point, and this is what I had said, but maybe you can weigh in on it. At that point, is it just better to, like if you can consume yogurt and you're getting good stuff, like that's a food thing, but if you want actual probiotics, just go out and get a probiotic supplement. Is that maybe the better way of looking at it?
not necessarily, because there are a lot of food grade probiotics that are actually much stronger than clinical, like pill format probiotics. Some foods, have their in the trillions. There's most foods just in general that are fermented will contain trillions of live probiotic bacteria. So when you have like a dosage of, let's say, 50 billion, there's a lot of variables to that too. Like you could get probably about 50 billion probiotics in like a tablespoon of sauerkraut or kimchi or pickles and different fermented bases, fermented coconut. There's a lot of different kefirs, or kefir, however you want to pronounce it. But yeah, like non-dairy, massive probiotic count, very easy on a lot of people's digestive tract. It's there's so many variables to this. It's there's hundreds, if not thousands of variables. So when you really break it down, a lot of things get overlooked.
So at that point, like, would you suggest to go in and see someone like yourself at Healthy Planet or another qualified individual at like a higher end health store to sort of assess that and move forward with that?
Yeah, definitely. If they're not already in conjunction with like their doctor, or their naturopath, or their dietitian, or their own nutritionist, if they have one or not, then definitely, there's a lot of recommendations we can make, or product recommendations that we can at least show people, and guide them in the right direction at least, or show them the options. Because ultimately it comes down to the individual, like what's easiest for them. Because there's shelf stable probiotics. There's refrigerator ones that have to remain in the fridge to maintain probiotic levels. There's powders, there's beverages, liquids and powders for babies, especially in newborns, or even people who just have a hard time swallowing. Then there's a lot of different strain types. Like that's a huge thing too. You have dairy derivative strains, you have plant strains, you have human strains, and a lot of those like supplement companies will specify what strains are derived from what. And just because something is a dairy strain doesn't necessarily mean that there's dairy in the product. So there's a lot to that. I always recommend people try to get fermented foods in them unless they have like some sort of dietary issue that can be sorry, just one second. That can be kind of disrupted from eating fermented foods, because people just can't eat fermented foods. It's just it just doesn't agree with a lot of people. So experimentation is a huge thing here. People need to try different forms of things and not just try something once and say it didn't work. Another thing with probiotics is that you need to be consuming probiotics every day. Like probiotics die off. It's a temporary thing. You're literally temporarily changing your gut bacteria or your microflora, whether that's orally or there's suppository probiotics too, whether people are direct delivery, like so that's a whole other discussion as well. It's all about method, I find, for people. What's going to be the easiest method, what's the most realistic method, and what's the most affordable method for them. Because if a person buys a refrigerated probiotic and it's sitting in their fridge and they just forget to take it every day, what's the point, right? Like it's so you can get something like a shelf stable probiotic, for example, that you can just have anywhere in your house, in your purse, by your bedside, in the bathroom. Like I keep these in the bathroom, for example, and they're just in blister packs. Like they're all individually wrapped, nice and easy. Completely vegan. There's gluten free, soy free, dairy free, whatever. There's a lot of allergens not in here, so like if that's the thing with a lot of food grade stuff is there are people who have those allergen issues and they can't consume some of those ferments because of that, or they have an actual like intestinal issue where they can't digest a lot of those foods.
Absolutely.
So,
So that being said, I want to just touch on something both you guys identified. Luke, you were talking about being allergic to dairy, and you didn't know that at first, I'm sure. And my wife's in the same boat. She had some different things. She was allergic to. She had some issues with eggs at one point, dairy, um, gluten. So one of the things I just want to touch on with you and Chandler is I just want to touch on fermented foods and foods in general. Is Chandler still there? Yeah. We might have lost him again.
I think we might have lost him.
Yeah, I think we might have lost him again, but we'll get him back on. So one of the things I wanted to touch on with him on the line, Luke, is talking about foods, because you bring up a good point. When you're looking at getting supplements, it's good to go and seek out some advice. I mean, there's so many variables, it sounds like, right, with all of the supplements. And one of the things that I'm really curious about, is, the average person listening to this is going to go into the grocery store and they're not going to know what the differences are between all the pickles, as an example. I love the fact that he brought up pickles as a fermented food, because I have a whole thing, part of my Be a Better Human talk that I'm brewing up is some of the neurotoxins and stuff that's in the foods. And pickles has polysorbate 80. And a lot of people look at me when I say that and go, polysorbate 80? What's polysorbate 80? And right now, of all times, right now is the last time we need to be breaking the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what that does. And people look at me and go, how can that be in our food? How can something that breaks the blood-brain barrier temporarily be in our food? And it is, and it's legal, and it's a preservative, and it's a neurotoxin, and it's not good for you. And you need to go into your fridge and look at whatever has it. Go into your cupboard, look in your spice cupboard, look at whatever has polysorbate 80 and throw it away, because it does in fact break the blood-brain barrier. And so it's interesting that a lot of times you can't seek out a professional in a regular grocery store like you can in a health food store. So not that I'm recommending people go and buy their food at Healthy Planet or any of those kind of places every day, but just better educate yourself. Know what you're putting in your body. Know what's in the food. If you can't pronounce it or you don't know what it is, Google it. Know what it is. Know what's in your food. That's a big thing that I love preaching, because I think that everybody should just have the right to choose what they put in on their body. I don't think that everybody can choose. Once they know, if they still want to consume it, awesome. Cool, I'm down, no problem. I don't discriminate. Everybody is, as I said in the first episode, everybody's opinion is valid. So I think, but I think you should have an educated opinion. I think people should know what's in the food and what's in the supplements. Look at the non-medical ingredients in the supplements. Know what's in there, because I think it's a huge factor as well, that people don't realize that some of these things that should not be allowed into our food are. And it's up to you to be the wiser consumer and know that, hey, I'm not going to consume that particular brand of pickles or relish or whatever it is, spice, because it's got this thing in it that isn't good for me. And I'm gonna purchase the one that's 50 cents more. That's a healthier option. There should only be things you can pronounce in your pickles, by the way. Me and my wife, we buy our pickles from a place here in London called On the Move Organics. And, they're great. But you can get, certainly if you're in the KW region, there's some markets there. Obviously, not all of them are open right now, but there are a lot of not only health food stores, but farmers markets, all kinds of different places that may or may not be open right now. But do your research and see what is around. See who you can get a hold of. I know, Luke, you've been talking to a few farmers even on the meat side. There's a
Hmm.
lot of additives and things in meats too, right? That people want to avoid. So I know you're a big meat guy, so um, that's something too, that it's not just in. There's not just these toxins are not just in the pickles. They're in all types of things. So just as much as you can. All of it's important, but one step at a time. Pick one thing. Like I said in the last episode, you pick one thing, and you go from there. That's all you can do. Because nobody's expecting all of us to know what Chandler knows. um, he's a master and taking classes and learn, and he's living it every day right now
Hmm.
in that store. I mean, I would say probably 75% of the time when I'm looking for something, I just ask him, because I'm like, hey, what is this? Because it's just, there's no way. There's just so much to know.
Yeah.
And it's no different with what we do, right, Luke? I mean, people come up to us all the time and look at the soundboard and go, wow, look at all those knobs. What happens? How many times have you heard what happens if I turn this one?
Yeah. Or,
Right?
hey, do you know what all those knobs do?
So don't be afraid to ask, guys. Like, don't be, guys and girls, don't be afraid to ask people for help. Feel free to reach out to myself or Luke. Feel free to talk to Chandler, reach out to Chandler,
Hmm.
reach out to any of the people at Healthy Planet. They're all amazing people, or Lynn's, or Homeopathy London, or Quartermaster here in London. And for those of you outside the city, support local. Support your local shops and your local people. These people have spent their lives learning, what it is they have, why it's deemed healthy, what's not healthy. These people are like Chandler. They're learning as they go, and they're acquiring knowledge, and they're a wealth of knowledge, and that knowledge is free to you, right? You go in there and you ask their advice and their opinions. That knowledge is free to you as a customer, and that's huge. Because there's some industries that operate in this world that knowledge isn't free. They charge you, a design fee or whatever it is. So I think, I think that's a huge thing that people, need to. I ask all the time. I'm not afraid to ask for help. I mean, gosh, Luke, you've helped me a tremendous amount, and he's back on here, and he has too. Chandler's helped me a dramatic amount. Welcome back.
I'm back, and I actually I heard everything you said. I was just trying to just connect my device back here.
No,
Had a few issues.
no worries. We totally
Okay.
understand. Like Luke said, this is episode 2, so hopefully our viewers will bear with us. We promise that as things continue to progress here at Be a Better Human, we will continue to refine the processes. But thank you for being our first guest on the show, man, and making it.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a privilege to even be asked to do this. I can't say enough. Thank you.
Can you comment? You heard what I said. Can you comment? And so, like I said, I love the fact that you brought up pickles and as one of the fermented foods. But can you sort of comment on that? Obviously, people can seek out someone like yourself for the supplement side, but I want to identify the food side. Lots of people are going to go to their local grocery store and buy some food tomorrow or the next day, and they're not going to have Ryan, Luke, Chandler, or anyone else standing there telling them what to buy. What should people, what's your philosophy when it comes to buying food that's healthy for you?
Well, I definitely try to buy as many organic fruits and vegetables and just produce in general, organic as much as possible. Like, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, insecticides, all of those things are going to wear down your immune system over time, especially when over hundreds to thousands of meals that you're eating. You got to think on a cellular level that your body's absorbing all of these things too. So it's
Most of us don't think about that. I know.
no, and
Most of us don't.
no, I didn't either for a very long time. I've worked in over 10 restaurants now, and that's where a lot of my insight really started to come, was like the sourcing of where these fruits and vegetables are coming from, like what company is growing this, like, you know, it's like what is their irrigation system like what is their soil like, you know, what are like London is amazing. Like there are so many organic farms in the London Middlesex County area.
Real estate prices just went up.
Oh, dude, I was blown away when I first moved to London about 5 years ago. I had no idea the amount of farming and organic farming at that there was in and around London. Like blew my mind. One tool I like to use is London Area Organic Growers.com, and that highlights all of the organic farms in the London Middlesex County area. It gives you a literal map of where they are, what they sell, their phone number, like everything about the farm. They get an external link to the farm if they have a website. You can get deliveries from those farms specifically, like if you need to go buy your eggs there, or go buy your specific produce straight from the farmer. That's a great way to do it. You know, you can go drive to the farms, learn a little bit about it, you know, ask a few questions, talk to the farmers, build a relationship, go to the farmers markets, man. Like I'm going to Western Fair Market like as much as I can. I'm going to Covent Garden Market. I'm trying to be, you know, physically there.
Are those markets open right now with what's going on?
Yeah. I think Covent Garden Market April 1st they're opening.
Yeah.
Nice.
As far as I know, Western Fair Market's still going on the weekends. They close the upstairs, but the main floor is still going, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Amen to those people. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, man. You gotta, plus, you know, all these people, they have immediate farms like here, like that they need to be supported, right? Like you know, you can't lock them down either. That's not everybody wants to be shopping at Walmart for their groceries, man. Like that's you sure they have some organic stuff there, but you know, and if that's the only place that you can get it, you know, by all means, you know, it's just people need to keep that in mind, is that when they're buying conventional produce, they're also, you know, getting a lot of other things they didn't think about with that. So it's just try to get as local, as organic as possible, you know. And you know what, not all things, you know, looking at the clean 15 and the dirty dozen list is also an effective way to save some cash too on organic produce. You know, you don't have to buy everything organic, because not everything needs heavy amounts of pesticides or fungicides or herbicides or insecticides to grow it and cultivate it and maintain it. Like eggplants, for example, very, very low pesticide rate. You know, if you don't have to spend the extra $3 per eggplant to, you know, get, you know, the organic one, like if you can't afford it, you know, just there are certain things, but like, you know, berries and apples and all that stuff that are conventional, like those are heavy pesticide users. So like, you know, if you
my wife literally will not let me bring strawberries that are not organic home. I actually did. I actually messed up one time at Costco, and I got one of those, like, you know, the really big strawberry things, and she flat out said, "Throw it out." And I mean, I come from a house where if my mom said to my dad, "Throw it out," my dad would have lost his mind. They're probably watching this right now, but it's true. You know,
I have a hard time throwing stuff out.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I don't know what I'm going to give it away. Like, I didn't want to throw it out, but yeah, like if I know now, I know better. If I even remotely think of coming home with anything but organic fruit, she'll lose her mind. In fact, I did tonight, because of course my grandmother, again, very picky, you know, I just want the regular blueberries, you know, because they didn't have organic blueberries at Costco, and I was at Costco, and I'll just get me okay. And I had them here in the house. I have to put them in the fridge. I'm taking them to her tomorrow. And are those ours? And I'm like, no, they're not ours. They're not ours. Don't worry. So, yeah, I think there's people. Yeah, my mom's replying there on the comments. Yep. But it's just, the thing is that organic is a big deal, people. This stuff is toxic chemicals. These sprays they're there for the bugs don't eat the stuff for a reason, man. It's good news, bad news, right? I mean, the thing is, if you get really deep in, like many people I'm sure have, and some people have not at all, you'll find out that there's arguments on both sides, right? Again, I'm Switzerland like that. I'm there's arguments both ways, and I try to stay as neutral as I can. But um, anything, and we all know anything in high amounts doesn't really matter what it is. Eventually, it's either not going to be good for you, you're going to develop an intolerance to it, whatever the case may be, right? So, pesticides, these things are no different. Um, so it's important that you understand what they are. Again, it goes back to what I was saying, Chandler, when you were off. Know what you're putting in and on your body. Just know. And if you're cool with it, then fine. It's all good. But I'd rather go to the Western Fair Farmers Market or whatever local farmers market you have. I'd rather go and talk to the farmer or the farmer's kids that are understand, hey, do you guys spray your vegetables? Oh, we use, as long as you understand what it is, I'd rather eat that than something that's been brought in from, no offense to any of the southern, countries, but I mean, the other day I think we got, I don't know, blueberries from Chile or something, right now, because of course Canada, we're frozen over. There's no blueberries here right now, but it, I got to imagine that organic blueberries coming from Chile. I mean, I'm hoping they're organic. They're not being flown in right now, so that's not happening. As we know, the borders, the flights from some of these countries are shut down, so they're not being flown in. So they got to be sprayed with something, right? They have to be. There's no way they're surviving that long, and if they're not. But I mean, who knows, right? And that's the problem is you don't know. When you go to a local grocery store, you don't really know. So, you're right in that sense that if you do have an option to support local and support the local farmer, at least you can try to get the truth. At least you can try to eat as organic as possible. And even if it's not certified organic, at least it hasn't been flown on a plane from 10,000 miles away.
Mhm.
And again, if that's your only option, like you said, then I agree, then you got to do what you got to do. But in moderation would be my only sort of comment.
Yes, because definitely getting the nutrients in you is more important than not. But like you said, over time, like if you're eating that and that's your main source, then yeah, like there's a lot of sub issues that can start to happen from that. Like, and like that can kill your own microflora. Like, can then kill your own body's natural immune defense by just getting glyphosate residuals in our food, like over and over and over again every day for weeks and weeks and months and years on end. Like, that's taxing on the system regardless of how you put it.
My mom's got some Northern Ontario blueberries in the freezer. She said $50 for a quart.
A lot of people don't know Sudbury is a massive, and just Northern Ontario in general is a massive berry export. So, but we just have them right here in Ontario. Even looking up things like seasonally, like seasonal, like fruit and vegetable growth in Ontario. That's a really good way to kind of narrow it down. So you're not eating things out of season. You're not eating things that aren't grown like in your territory. That's like one of the best ways to even put up your own natural defenses, like having local bee pollen, for example, versus like a bee pollen flown in from the other side of the country. Like,
Mhm.
it's that makes a huge difference in like your histamine response and just your even allergies and stuff like that for people. So let's see, yeah, a lot of really good guides just as far as like what's growing from season to season and what to keep your eye out for, because if you're buying seasonally too, the cost is a lot more effective too. So if you have um, like a budget, that's one of the best things to start off with. eat seasonally and eat locally, and you'll save a massive amount on your bill. You're paying huge amounts for imports on these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and look at the price of our dollar right now. It's like import fees, prices on produce, and prices on products are just going to keep going up on a week to week basis, on a day to day basis. Prices are changing, and distributors, manufacturers, all of these things come into play that people don't take into consideration. Like it's so easy to be able to support local and be able to make some changes immediately on your own, that you don't have to outsource from another country. uh, like that's one of the most important things that I would say that needs to be addressed for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you brought up a really good point in terms of getting to know local farmers. Can you just so we can have it again? Can you give me the website that London area growers,
London area organic growers.com.
organic growers? Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of being able to eat local and eat seasonal as well. Like I know that I have a relationship with different farms around the area, and like right away when I knew that people started stocking up, people started hoarding different foods. I just called the farmers and I said, hey guys, like how's the supply looking? How's everything going? And everyone's like, hey, it's great. Like we've got like we're out of a few things here and there, but like I like my grass-fed beef, and I choose like the biggest one for me. I've done a lot of research on it, and for me, YU Ranch in Tilsonburg, where my parents actually live,
Mm.
is a huge like the energy that I get from that meat is just different than any other even grass-fed meats that I've tried. But like right away, like I have a relationship with the farmer. Like I can go to the farm and maybe not so much right now. They're trying to keep things nice and clean. But like I've gone there with the family and brought my son who's very young to go pet the cows, and
Yeah.
like you can make a day out of it and have fun, and you can show them how different, there's a huge difference in terms of local pasture grass-fed beef and factory farm meat that's coming from who knows where, and a bunch of different cows from a bunch of different locations all ground together. And you're at the end of the day, I go to the farm, I don't pay any more for it. Like I know Western Meats in London also carry YU Ranch, but there's a significant markup on that. So just by going and getting a little bit of bulk from the farmer himself, like you are supporting local. And just as a side note, for anyone who is looking for work right now, I've seen from a bunch of different people that farmers are actually in real need of labor, in real need of
Mm.
help right now, just because a lot of the people that they usually would have laboring right now are not actually able to get into the country. So that's just a little
Exactly.
aside. So like they're supporting us, we need to support them. And I know that a lot of people are looking for something to do, looking for work right now. So that's just a little side note for people.
100%. Very, very overlooked industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people think farming's just tractors and machines, and it's like they
Hmm.
people have gotten so disconnected with even growing in their own garden that I don't even think I know a single person in London. Like I maybe know a handful of people in total that even garden in
Yeah.
their own yard.
Yep.
Um,
That could be making a
so
comeback.
yeah,
I know.
yeah,
I'm
I
literally
couldn't agree
looking
more.
for good heirloom seeds right now because like at this point it becomes like I've done like really basic stuff like kale, because it's so easy to grow, and it's very robust. But yeah, I know that I'm in the market for getting getting some seeds going, and getting something planted in beside the house and that kind of thing. And I think that's going to start making a big comeback because, like, as you can imagine right now, food shortages wouldn't be such an issue if we all had a garden. Like, it wouldn't be an issue,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, and even bartering, bringing bartering back is, I feel like, going to be a huge thing too.
Yep.
And if you can't grow peas, but Paul down the street can, and you grow good carrots, why not trade off? It's like, I think that's going to be a huge thing to come.
Hmm.
It's already happening in pockets. There's obviously a lot of people that do that, especially on the outskirts of the cities. And even there's even some community gardens in London that I didn't know about.
Hmm.
That people come together and actually grow together in London, in the city. So that's something that a lot of people can look into as well.
Yeah, there's
Rooftop
several
growing.
different plots. Yeah.
Yeah. So and even co-ops, like farming co-ops, and setting up like delivery systems, like Ryan was mentioning earlier. They go to On the Move Organics.
Hmm.
um, it's a great company. They got a great set of ethics behind them.
Hmm.
um, and they're ultimately putting suppliers in direct hands with the customers too. So they're creating relationships with farmers as well, and giving people jobs as well. So it's there's so many different ways to look at this. But first thing, I think people need to get out more and really start supporting their local farms and local markets, and not have to stand in line for 3 hours right now going to a grocery store.
Yeah.
So I just think that's people don't think about that. They overlook that, and they could be spending their time in a lot more efficient manner, and be supporting people that are needing it more too.
Hmm.
Guys,
Uh,
let's jump into some of the comments here for a sec, just because we got quite a few sort of building up
uh,
here. Just kind of scroll through. Um, a lot of it's just sort of conversations back and forth, sort of confirming what we were talking about. Um, I know Kyle David here is and Livia are both commenting quite a bit. Um, um, let me just have a look here. Make your own pickles. Yeah, I mean that's a thing, right?
oh,
You know,
dude, I
I
make
talked about that when I was
make all
living in
sorts of
Washington.
ferments.
Make your own canned goods, make your own stuff. Kyle mentioned hormone injections in the beef. Not
Even just naturally occurring hormones. So that's what it's like. Oh, there might not be added hormones, but there's already pre-existing hormones like in the meat. Like, it's like the animal has those endogenously, so it doesn't matter if an exogenous hormone is being injected or not. There's still hormonal factors uh, that are there, whether the animal was under a massive amount of stress and has a high amount of cortisol in its tissues, and heavier amounts of estrogen just based off of what they're eating. Like, if they're eating a lot of soy feed, or if they're there's a lot of variables to that,
Hmm.
as
Livia's
well.
bringing up quercetin and antihistamine. It's just two other
Hmm?
good supplements as well for antiviral. Um, you agree with that?
Yeah, quercetin, excellent for histamine response for sure. Especially for people with respiratory allergies and stuff like that, who get stuffed up very easily, and then get mucus buildup, or have you know issues breathing in times like this.
Hmm.
That's an excellent way for people to combat that for sure.
Kyle David brings up Kraft cheese and Velveeta. You know what? I used to love Velveeta. Like I used to love it. It was like a treat. You'd have
Oh
it.
yeah.
And now that I've read the box, it's all over. It's just that's it. You know.
Well, maybe I don't know if you've done a lot of research on labeling laws, that kind of stuff. I think it circles back to, like, again, knowing what you're putting into your body. And for me, uh, like really going down the rabbit hole on labeling laws was a big eye opener for me. And like Ryan has said, and even last episode, he sort of challenged everyone to sort of just look at the labels and Google it. Just look at what you're eating and get to know it. And I think also to go further with that is actually look into what labeling laws are. Like what can these companies and what can these corporations actually get away with? And like I know for me in terms of being like very allergic to gluten and dairy, like on the front of the package, it can allude to or actually say something is gluten free, even though on the back it says may contain gluten and dairy and this and that and the other thing.
Because it was where it was manufactured.
Yeah, and in terms of, I definitely encourage people to look into that, especially if they do have allergies and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, uh, it looks like there's a few more comments about organically grown stuff, apples and oranges being sprayed with wax. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. Chandler, do you have
Yeah,
a
if
comment on
Oh
that?
yeah.
yeah, apples.
Like,
I can't
oh
stand
man.
apples in Canada because they're covered in wax.
Oh yeah,
Wow,
you could take like a
that's new
little
to me.
knife and score the skin, and you could literally see layers of wax coming off.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different like vegetable washes that you can do. There's different recipes online. There's even different products that you can just buy. It's just like a produce spray that you could just either soak or clean out your sink. Put some vinegar and you know help just take off any surfactant issues going on there. So like it's
Hmm.
like it really just depends. Like if there's debris and everything on the actual fruit itself. If it's organic, I mean like you you could technically just eat it with some of the soil still intact because there's still like some good nutrients and minerals from the soil too, like all depending on the soil, right?
Hmm.
um
Yeah, absolutely.
that's if you're buying organic, depending on what company, some organic companies still do the whole waxing thing depending on where it's coming from, right, to help with travel and shipping. But if you're getting good local apples, like I know a lot of people just have apple trees, right? Like there's
I
no
wish.
wax there. Like it's
I mean, I'm keto, so I don't wish in a way, but I wish that more people would do
yeah,
that.
like there that is definitely a big issue. But if you're buying organic, there's a lot of things that you don't have to worry about in that sense too. So
Uh,
Hmm.
Kyle David also brought up plant-based meats. It's interesting. I know some people who are vegetarian or who are vegan, and they eat a lot of these packaged things. I'll call them. Don't name any brands, but there's lots of packaged foods, and they're just full of MSG and fillers and preservatives and
a lot of different hydrogenated oils and stuff, and
again, it goes
Hmm.
back to my thing. Just know what you're putting in your body. It's super important to know what those things are in those foods, man. Just because it's in a package and just because it's in your local grocery store doesn't mean it's safe and doesn't mean it's good for you in high doses. And that's the thing that a lot of, it's getting better all the time, but people who live in some of these lifestyles, in a lot of cases, especially depending on where you live, you're limited on what you can get, for food. If you live in a small town and you only got one grocery store, like if you live in Tilsonburg or Lucan or, you're limited, if you want to choose to be one of
100%.
them. So just know what's in and on in your food and just make informed choices. That's all I'm saying, because that's one thing that, a lot of the plant-based packaged products are just not, there's some stuff in there that's just not great for you in any long-term high amounts.
Hmm.
um
Yeah, that's where I started, man. Like I started reading labels, and that's what really kind of tipped me off too. I really started looking into the whole like non-GMO movement and everything. That's kind of just what got me into it all, especially working in restaurants, like taking a look at some of the ingredients that some of these companies are using, like it just very, very hard to cook food that you wouldn't eat yourself, right? So and questioning the integrity of the ingredients, that's
Livia commented on the wax. Good mix. A good mix is 1 cup of vinegar in the sink will remove the wax. Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's definitely a very effective way of doing it. But there's, like I was saying, there's quite a few different recipes. A lot of people put like a little mix of their own in there. But that'll only get surface debris on. It's not like it's gonna wash pesticides off. Like the pesticides and everything and all that stuff. Like that's absorbed into the fruit or the vegetable. Like you can't just wash it off. So that's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize either. It's like they're like, oh, I washed it, but it's still inside of it. So a lot of these fruits and vegetables have very fragile skin that can be penetrated very easily. And organic growers, they use pesticides and fungicides too, like insecticides. It's just more organic ingredients that they're using, or very low chemical output. Like they still have pesticides. It's just
right. So I just want to move on to sort of the last sort of area that we wanted to talk about, which is lifestyle. Talk to us about lifestyle and how lifestyle plays a role in all of this, whether it be building your immune system or just being a better human in general. How does lifestyle play?
Lifestyle is everything. It's getting like the first thing we talked about, getting good, regular, ample sleep is massive, and sleep quality. Eating regularly and consistently. Practicing stress management. Whether you play video games to relax, or whether you go to yoga to relax, or you just meditate, or you're a musician or anything, like you need some form of stress management and relaxation to just unwind and get away from things too. Frequent exercise and moving. Just keep moving. Once you become stagnant and you stop moving, that's when a lot of things start to break down, or at least not function as optimally. You get backups. Your glands, your adrenals, your lymphatic system is it's not draining, or it's not moving. Keeping proper circulation going, like those are all huge things. It's getting good amount of sunlight, getting outside, getting some fresh air, trying to avoid drugs and alcohol, or cigarette smoke, and other types of pollutants.
I see lots of people walking and being active now, more than I've ever seen before, which is really cool.
Yeah. My dojo master, because I do Tai Chi, Qigong, and kickboxing as well. I find that's a very grounding practice, to be able to just breathe and move and have your body be in sync with your own heart rate and your own breathing patterns.
I didn't know you did that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so been doing that for a couple of years now. But my dojo master, he trained at the University of Beijing in China, and studied ancient Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and he's also a massage therapist. But his whole thing was movement is medicine, and China, that's a massive thing too. Just keep moving, like no matter what. Like you gotta.
Yeah.
My girlfriend gave me a Fitbit for Christmas there, so I've been able to track what I'm actually doing on a day-to-day basis, and even just working at Healthy Planet, I'm walking over 10 kilometers a day, just working.
That's
just
incredible.
working, just on the floor, going from aisle to aisle. I'm walking 10 kilometers. So
there you go. So in this time, people should be, if you're healthy and and you want to remain active, just hold off on the gym membership and go get a job at the grocery store.
Yeah, like, or the farm, like he was saying there,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was explaining too, like, light aerobic activity and moderate exercise is way better for you than high intensity, heavy weight, heavy, heavy capacity workouts are very stressful on the body. So trying to keep like a good consistency where you're not overworking yourself either, and you're not working out to your maximum every single day, because that's like your body needs to repair from that. Like you can't just go all out every day, otherwise you're not going to have anything left in the tank to maintain yourself normally.
Yeah.
So light aerobic activity, I can't stress that enough. Like, even if you're stretching, even if you're doing tension and stability bands, and you're only lifting 5 to 10 or 15-pound dumbbells, like, it doesn't matter. Like, at least you're getting the metabolism function going, you're getting your adrenals and all of your other glandular systems going. It's your lymphatic system is so important to all this too. So lymphatic drainage is massive, and doing different lymphatic drainage techniques or lymphatic movement techniques, like dry brushing or cold showers and cold immersions, like people doing cold baths. Like,
Luke, you know all about that, right?
Every day. Every
Yes,
day,
sir.
cold shower.
oh man, it's great. So those are a lot of just simple practices that you can do. Like, don't overstress yourself. I think that's one of the biggest things we need to look at is do not give in to stress as much as you can. Everything else in your body is going to go on the back burner when you're under stress. So
absolutely. And again, just so that people understand, what we're speaking about is in general, and it's not, and it's about building up your immune system for the time that we're in. And are there going to be people out there that are going to listen to this and go, no way, man, I'm going to push, 1,000,000 pounds every day and I'm going to be fine. Yeah. There's also people that, eat cheeseburgers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and say they're fine, but eventually they're not fine. I mean, I know some of the guys, even just my father-in-law is a massive, bodybuilding fan. So is my brother-in-law and my wife. And they've, followed some of these guys for years. And even my wife knows a lot of people who train for competitions and things like that. And those will be the first people to tell you that some of the things they do isn't healthy. They look great. I mean, they look phenomenal. But and we'll get Luke, I meant to tell you, we're going to bring someone on real soon to talk about some of this kind of stuff, some of the health and the fitness side of it and that side of it. But just know that just because things look good on the surface doesn't necessarily mean they're good inside. That plays a huge factor, right? It's kind of like the fancy looking packaging on food or supplements. It doesn't necessarily mean that what's inside the box or the bottle or whatever it is even the skin. I didn't know there was wax on apples. I mean, it's plain sight and you can't even see it.
Yep.
It's that just goes to show you that even after as many years as I've been alive, you still learn something new every day. And that's why one of the things of be a better human is learn. Our motto, as you guys will learn as we go along, is love, learn, live. And love is first, because especially at this time, as you heard in the first episode, it's love is a huge pillar right now, is to love each other, love our body, love the world we live in. It's one, it's one world, it's one love. And if we all stay positive and work together, I truly believe that we can overcome this and many other things to come. And then learn every day. And I challenged you in the last episode. You're right, Luke. I did. I challenged them, and I want to challenge them again. Reach out to people. Reach out to people like Chandler. Reach out to people in the grocery store. Say, hey, do you have this organic, this, because it could be in the back. They may just not have put it out yet,
Exactly.
Well, and you're
Don't
gonna
be,
vote with your dollar too, right?
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
what you're doing is, like every day that if you're in, the bigger box, the metros and the superstores and stuff like that, like you're voting with your dollar every time you choose to, even if you're not going to the farm to get it, you're choosing to vote with your dollar every time. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing this for many years now, and and things that I'm buying, I'm seeing more of and more of and more of,
And it's getting
and
cheaper.
and it's getting cheaper and it's
Yeah.
getting more available. It's becoming available in smaller towns, so it's definitely working, and yeah.
Yeah, it's true. You know what? I'm going out there and I'm looking at things, and it's very interesting that certain things, there's like we're going into Easter, right? So there's an abundance of chocolate on the shelves right now out there. And I noticed that I remember back about a week or so ago that one night, Luke, me and you were both out. We were walking around Metro and we noticed that meat was gone, eggs were gone, certain things were gone. But but the
This is a
ice
few
cream
weeks
aisle,
ago, quite a few
but
weeks
the
ago
ice
now.
cream
Yeah,
aisle was full, right? Remember that?
yeah.
So humans have this natural ability to just know that certain things are not a priority, right?
Mhm.
But so it's very interesting that you're right. Vote with your dollars. And so many people that I know are like, I can't afford organic. And I grew up in a part of town where organic was very expensive because people didn't necessarily buy it or consume it en masse. And you're 100% right, because I moved to another part of town and I went to go look at the organic versus non-organic prices, and yeah, they might be a few cents more, but marginally. Like I'm looking at it going, wait a minute, this same store in another part of my town has the same thing and it's more expensive there. So I had to, because again, it's my challenge to you all is go and ask. So I did. I went and asked. I said, hey, can you tell me? I went to the store in my old part of town because it's close to my work. I went and said, hey man, I have a question. Why is the organic stuff so expensive here and not so expensive at your store across town? He goes, well, it sells there. I went, what do you mean? He goes, well, we throw like 3/4 of this away. And I went, oh, well, I get it now. It's so they have it there. It's a small section, but they end up throwing most of it away. So they have to mark it up because they have to they have to adjust for what they throw away. So you're 100% right, Luke. Like 100% right. That over not even necessarily a long period of time, over a short to medium period in time, if people were just to consume more natural organic foods, yes, the demand would go up, but I guarantee you the price would go down. And it's
Mhm.
I've seen it with my own
Yeah.
eyes. So whether you're right, whether you support a farm or a farmer, or whether you support a grocery store, your local store, or whatever, um, do as much, do what you can, and ask people to price match too. I mean, I price match in my business all the time. Not everybody's willing to do it, but I do it. I got to compete against the likes of the behemoths out there, all these retailers and stuff, and the big stores do too. They all do. A lot of them do. And so, ask, hey, I saw this on sale at Walmart for this. Will you guys match it? Almost all cases they'll say yes. And not everybody can moderate what everybody else is doing out there for price. There's just too many variables. But if you want to support local and you want to support organic or a healthier option, just ask. Just go, hey, I saw this over here. Can you do something for me? Yeah, no problem, man. And that's all it takes is communication. Communication's key in every part of your life. It's key in your relationships with your significant others, with your children, with your family. I mean, I mean, every family has their issues over time, but so many of these issues are because of bad communication or lack of communication, and emotion. So, take the emotion out and communicate. Just get to the bottom line. You just you need to know the facts, and you need to make the right decisions for yourself and your family. And I think that's really important. So if anybody else has any questions, um, what else we got going on here? Kyle David said, stay moving. Exercise is essential. Get that natural dopamine release. he said he learned the hard way that the stuff will tear your body up, and create way too much testosterone. Heavy lifting each day is detrimental to your body. There's so many amazing athletes out there that trained for so many years to become bodybuilders that won incredible titles, and that's exactly what they're all crippled now.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally crippled, and it's so tragic because there's so many young people that looked up to these guys and these girls, and it's just so sad. Yeah.
Yeah, I
My
think it's
mother
all about balance, right? It's all about balance.
my mother commented about Florida. I actually want to talk about that. Lots of people go sort of all over the place, and some of us are fortunate enough to head down to the Orange State. It's interesting. It's very interesting down there. There's lots of sort of, Walmart here and Walmart there are very, very different, which I was not aware of this until I really looked into it. But down there, I actually was able to get healthier meats, especially, but healthier foods at Walmart than I could at some of the other stores. It was very bizarre. So there's an epitome, Luke, of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the market from each city will fluctuate depending on who's consuming in that demographic. Like even with healthy plant, like certain healthy plants will carry more of one thing than another. Like some will have more of a product that sells more in one city than another. Like it goes across the board in a lot of ways like that, because it's the market speaks for itself. People are voting for their dollar if they see, like you said, a high influx of organic produce being sold. They're gonna have to order more of it. Like it's simple as that. It's just simple math. Like it's just
I know all about it.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you bring in organic celery and you sell a dozen in a week, you're just going to order a dozen for the next week. But if you sell a dozen in a day, you're going to go, ooh, wait a minute. Right? You're going to call up the farmer and go, how many of those you got? What kind of price can I get? So, it's 100%. And Kyle David's still saying here, there's several body types work out for your within your shape. Totally true.
Yeah, mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorph, all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And even from a layman's aspect, for people that don't know what those are, is like, just if you're a heavier person and you haven't worked out in a while, start slow. Take it easy. Nutrition is, I'm a big advocate of nutrition. I mean, don't get me wrong, working out's a great thing for sure, but both have to be in check. So just because you have a gym membership and you're working out, your insides have to match your outsides, right? So I would say that, everything that we've talked about tonight plays.
It's the same thing with supplements. Can't just take a supplement and then not eat right and exercise. Like, you got it. And I can't tell you how many people think that's a thing. So it's you gotta. I first thing I ask people, do you exercise? Like, what's your diet? Like, do you have allergies? Like, do you have prescriptions? Like, what else are you eating? Like, try to really get into their world.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many things people overlook, and I cannot stress that enough. I'll get into a half-hour conversation with somebody, pick out all the products, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'm also like on this medication, and I also have this, and I also have that, and you're like, where was that a half hour ago?
Yep.
It's like that. Now you got a whole new protocol because I can't recommend this to you anymore. So it's like,
exactly.
It goes, communication's everything. Don't leave out details, and help the person that is helping you. It goes both ways. Try to help them as much as possible. Make it easier on them to support you and guide you in the right direction, so that they can just help you in the utmost fashion instead of leaving out any details that get overlooked. Like, I can't stress that enough. People need to be more prepared as shoppers as well. it goes both ways. So
Kyle David's making some comments. Kyle, watch our first episode. But we'll definitely bring it up again for sure. Talking about cooking with antioxidants and detoxing from chemicals for sure. I'm a massive, massive fan of detoxing from chemicals. Mentioned it in the first episode, but I've been on about a 1.5 year journey into the body detoxification and all of the different toxins that we put in and on our bodies. And I'm a huge advocate of knowing what you're putting in and on your body, as I'm sure you can tell from even this episode. He's talking about the different things like, echinacea, black caraway seeds, super powerful, especially now. Yeah. And number of other, different roots and stuff. We talked last night a bit, and we'll mention it again for anybody that wasn't on. Luke, you're doing the thyme, I think, and I'm doing peppermint, but there's thyme and peppermint tea. I know, Luke, you're constantly doing the peppermint essential oils and the diffuser. There's all kinds of different roots and herbs and things that you could be using right now as well. And Livia said milk thistles for the liver. I was also mentioning onions and garlic push toxins outside your body. There's also things that you can do like foot baths and onyx foot baths. There's all kinds of, start doing some research as to how you can start detoxifying your body yourself in some of these different ways. And Chandler, do you want to maybe touch on some of that on body detoxification a bit?
Yeah, detoxing is a tough one because not everybody should be detoxing as well. Like there's a lot of issues with that, just because if a person has a high abundance of fat in their body too, they can have a lot of toxicity in their fat stores, depending on what they've been eating, depending on what other environmental exposure they've had. If they've had a high abundance of drugs and alcohol in their system, or just other types of issues. Like not everybody should be detoxing because a lot of that can just flood into your bloodstream. Like your liver is going to be breaking down your fat stores. Your fat stores will contain a lot of those things, and then that will be going right into your bloodstream. So a lot of people who do detoxes, who are very high in toxicity, can actually make some of their issues worse and become very sick from that, especially depending on how their digestion system is. So detoxing is a very tricky one. You again, everybody's biochemically different. Everybody has different issues going on in their body, and doing light, gentle, moderate detoxing. And even the word detox, I don't like it too much. I feel like it gets thrown around a lot. And it gets overused. So it really depends like what you're trying to detox. Like if you're doing a whole body detox, if you're cleansing your colon, if you're doing a kidney flush, if you're doing a liver flush, if you're doing a respiratory cleanse, like there's so many things. If you're trying to get heavy metals out of your body, like there's so many different protocols for all of these things. And like I said, some of these detoxes can be very abrasive on people and very hard on people depending on their own toxicity levels.
Right. If somebody wanted to get rid of heavy metals and they wanted to do it in a way that wasn't gonna, I know it's different for everyone, but if there was, a way that people could start to sort of get rid of some of the heavy metals in their bodies, because we all have them. What would you recommend?
Well, you could do numerous things. Like you can either supplement for that. It's a great product. Zeolite is a great mineral that basically binds to excess metals in the body and helps flush it out. So it like this mineral itself will literally bind to other metals in the body and flush it out.
Sorry, that name once again, so people can.
Zeolite.
Zeolite. Cool.
It's literally a mineral. Usually it's like a Russian mineral. So it's there are different sources of it as well, but Russia has a very strong strong export there for that. Even for like radiation, other environmental pollutants, and pesticides and stuff like that. If a person's exposed to that, they can take that. So yeah, ZLA, it comes in a lot of different forms. That's definitely something that they can do. I know a lot of mushrooms can really help with that too. So there's a few different ways you can go about doing that. But that's definitely one of the easiest ways.
A couple more quick ones here, and then we'll should wrap it up soon. We got a couple hours in here. Anyone who has, I know there's going to be people watching this that have certain things right now that cause them to be scared because they've been told this is what we're dealing with right now is a respiratory disease. And some of the people are out there are going to have respiratory issues. So it could be asthma, it could be, a host of different things. Is there anything specific as a supplement or as a food that they should be looking at right now to help with making sure that their respiratory system stays clear, making sure to sort of build up their immunity to warn off things, more so than someone who doesn't doesn't have any kind of a major respiratory issue? But is there something that those people that they can take that or eat that can help support them better?
Yeah, definitely. You can go numerous ways of doing this, whether you want to isolate specific ingredients, or you want to get a supplement, or you want to do it herbal. That's definitely gonna be the first kind of avenue to look at. So N-acetylcysteine, that's a excellent thing that you can do for chronic respiratory conditions, and just overall, it really helps like replenish glutathione. So it's like a precursor to glutathione. So basically, N-acetylcysteine, like it's about half the price of glutathione. Glutathione on its own is quite expensive. So getting that form, it's not accessible to everybody. And also right now, like glutathione is very hard to find. So like even just like production of glutathione in general, like I know there's a lot of issues going on with certain things. But yeah, NAC. If you find NAC is a nice short form of it, N-acetylcysteine. Again, the body converts N-acetylcysteine into glutathione. So if your body can convert NAC easily, that's a great way to save some money on buying glutathione, because then you're saving half the price, and then your body's just converting it anyway. So, but yeah, big time for respiratory function. You could do different herbal complexes. There's rosemary and like licorice, blackseed, magnolia, cinnamon, schizandra, thyme. Like some of these companies even have like full lung complexes and respiratory complexes. So it really depends how you want to do it. There's pills, there's powders, there's teas. So those are some great ways. And even just breathing, man. I know a lot of people just don't even breathe, like can't even breathe properly. Like they're breathing through their nose all day, like that, or through their mouth, like only, like they're no deep breaths through the nose. Breathing in through the nose, having deep breaths through the nose can really help with nitric oxide production. So breathing through the nose with a lot deeper breaths and with breathing with more intention, I think is needs to be done.
Something that nobody really thinks about a lot, unless I know that you're into some of the sort of ancient Chinese ways there from what you've been taught. But I'm
shuttling oxygen to your bloodstream,
I
just
can say I don't think about it.
Well, good. Anyone who's interested in learning a lot about breathing could look up is a gentleman named Wim Hof. He has a really great.
Yes.
I think his program is actually free right now. I think he's released it actually free at the moment. So Wim
Amazing.
Hof, Wimhof, his breathing techniques. You can check him out on Joe Rogan podcast. He was on there a couple years ago. That's an amazing. I do that with the cold showers and all that kind of stuff, and it's incredible.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. You know, just keeping all that in check, and like you said, using those resources for free. Like there's tons of videos, like tons of practical free things that you can just do immediately in your house. You don't need equipment. You don't need anything. You just need yourself and your mind and your body and your soul. Just gotta breathe, man. So
Amen.
that's a thing. That's a big thing. A lot of people are overlooking too. Just not enough people breathing properly. Um, what else? I'm just trying to think. Um, we could look at this in multiple ways. Even getting like looking at your air quality in your house. Having an air purifier, or even doing a good essential oil diffuser.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nebulizers people can do. There's all sorts of different breathing apparatuses, and just getting certain contaminants out of the air. Like a lot of people don't realize they have mold and mildew in their house and in their walls. Like
Yeah, it's
those,
worth
those are
I learned the hard way that I was very affected and allergic and had it took some brain mapping and stuff like that to figure it out, but that I had a major issue with mold, and I was living in a very moldy apartment. It was a newly renovated place, but it was an old house, and it actually, just whatever was in the ductwork or the depths of the house, even though it was literally, I was the first tenant ever to be in this apartment after it was renovated. But I was just like, my health was, just failing over and over and over again. And I was eating well and exercising, doing all this stuff. And then I figured out that it was mold. A couple $100, you can do a mold test. And they're like,
100%.
dude, you got to get out of here right away. And I moved
Holy
like the
shit.
next day I was out. And it just
Wow.
like better, like every day was better and better and better and better. So, like I
Yeah,
can
and a
I
lot
can
of people
definitely
overlook
attest
that.
to that.
No kidding, man. Like that's an amazing example. Like that's and even at their workplace, like people
Mm.
don't realize like that just they're there every day and they don't correlate their symptoms to what they're feeling. And I think a lot of people need to do that more, is just correlate how they're feeling and correlate their symptoms to potential exposure, environmental exposure, where they're doing every day. And that, look at that avoided, months or years of potential issues that could have been caused from that. Like you could have had respiratory failure or
Mhm.
got a severe infection. Like you said you had, even cognitive function was compromised, right? So it's like,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
so like it's
that's where it was really hitting me hard. It was like definitely messing with me mentally. You know, like I was like getting severe depression and getting into a really dark place, and I'm like, well, there's no
no
reason for
kidding.
this. And luckily I had met a new friend at that point who was a neuroscientist, and he really helped me out, and thank goodness for him.
No kidding. Like it's honestly, like that's one of the biggest things people need to look at too. It's just like what their environmental exposures are.
Mhm.
Whether it's at their house or at work or at their friends that they're spending a lot of time. Um,
Well, I'll
you
say
know,
this to our friends in the music industry is that there's quite a lot of hotels and quite a lot of venues that actually have mold issues. So just be aware of
oh
of
yeah,
that thing. Theaters, a lot of
big time.
there's a lot of fabric and drape around that, and not necessarily, the people running those venues and those hotels don't necessarily know about these things. There's a good movie called Moldy by Dave Asprey, who's the founder and runs Bulletproof brand. They do coffee and
Oh
a
yeah,
bunch of other stuff.
yeah.
But that Moldy movie, like that's if you want to learn about mold and what it could be doing, or if you're having health issues that you can't really pinpoint, definitely check out Moldy movie because it was like that was severely eye opening for me.
Oh
I
yeah,
definitely
coffee,
recommend that.
big time. Like
Oof.
that's just an example of mold, man. Like everyone's drinking coffee and nobody really understands like the mold levels in a lot of coffee. So
Yeah, yeah.
I can taste it now. I can taste it. I never used to be able to. I never
Gosh.
used to even know. And I used to just think some coffee was just taste bad and some coffee tastes better. And now that I'm drinking black coffee because I'm keto, I know what good coffee tastes like. And I know
Oh
what
yeah.
really, really cheap moldy coffee tastes like. And me and Luke have this talk all the time because previous to me being keto, it's going back a number of years ago, Luke had already figured this out. And I used to look at Luke bring his tickle trunk of stuff to the gigs. And I'd be like, man, what are you doing? And I knew he had Crohn's. So I knew, I was like, yeah, okay, it's the Crohn's thing. No, man, it's more than that. It's like he was literally, and we would be all like jealous because he'd be brewing fresh coffee at the front of house. He'd be brewing fresh coffee. And we're sitting there going, oh man, it smells so good. None of us, there's like somebody had brought like one of those things from Tim Hortons, and and we're feeling bad because we know Luke has his own stuff because he has his own issues, his own health stuff going on, and we were all like, oh, we can't ask him for something, but it smells so good. I remember asking him one time, and I think it was at Sunfest downtown, if I'm not mistaken. I think I asked you for one, and you're like, yeah, man, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
I love sharing the coffee.
And I was like, wow, man, this is absolutely incredible. And once I started on my journey of keto, of course, you can't miss Dave Asprey and his brand. And so I had the pleasure of having some bulletproof coffee early on. And my brother exposed me to it, and I think you did too,
Oh
Luke.
man,
And it was just unbelievable. And people just
crazy difference.
people are like, nah, whatever, man. And
Like $20 a bag. Are you
it,
kidding me? I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, it is worth it. Like,
oh
And
my
you know
God.
what? You drink less of it. Like I find I
yeah,
drink. It's like with the like people who are like, why would you pay that much for coffee, or why did you pay that much for grass-fed beef? I'm like, why don't like at the end of the day the budget is the same. I'm just consuming less of it because it's more efficient and it's more satiating and satisfying.
100%.
Those are
Like,
also the people going and putting $100 in the slot machine at the casino, though.
Or like,
And not that I have
dumping.
anything against casinos, of course not, but there's lots of different ways to look at things, right? It's all about where you invest your money, and I prefer to invest my money in my body. If you look at my credit card bills, I've taken a dramatic shift from
I've
the way.
seen some of them too.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Um, I've taken a dramatic shift from not spending nearly enough on my body. As I mentioned in the first episode, I used to drink almost a case of pop a day. And
Wow.
years ago, yeah, man. Like I went from being pretty much as like I used to DJ, right? So I every night at 3:30 in the morning when I should be sleeping in my REM sleep, I used to go to McDonald's and get like the $1.19 junior chickens and the I was that guy. I would go get
Of course.
each or something, and then
The lifestyle.
I'd wash it down with with a can of pop. And I went from that to where I am now, and I'm just and I feel like I'm still just beginning. Like I feel like there's still a tremendous amount more that I need to learn.
Oh yeah, never, like you said, never stop learning, man. It's like every day is a new adventure to learn. That's the only way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all part of being human. I think a big part of being human, and there's many people who think of life as this thing that, what's the meaning of life? Well, I think the meaning of life is what you make of it. I think your life is your life, and I think as you go along your journey, learning and making better choices and living a better life, living a life with with positivity and love and empathy and all the things I mentioned in the first episode is key. And all of what we've talked about tonight is part of that journey. And you don't have to do it all at once. I said that in the first episode too, Chandler. You know, you going cold turkey and just going all in, it is not necessarily the best thing either. And I think, you know, you
No.
mentioned that with a couple of the things you talked about. So that's why I always say, you know, first steps. What are first steps? Take the first step, get the first step done, then take the second step, then the third step, and then just keep going and just keep moving in a forward direction, keep moving in the right direction, whether it's health, like from a fitness standpoint, from a supplement standpoint, from a food standpoint, and even just from you know, we talked last night quite a bit, Chandler, about mental health, and
Oh
all
yeah.
this stuff we talked about tonight plays, all of it, the
Mhm.
chemical toxicity, the stuff in the foods, the extra additives in the supplements, the good versus bad supplements, the lack of energy. We didn't even get into talking about Luke's favorite thing, which is all the brainwashing and all the television and all that stuff. We'll get into that in another episode. But I mean, there's just
EMF, blue light,
Oh,
grounding, all of
yeah,
that stuff.
electromagnetic radiation, like
Yep.
big time. Like
Like
all these things are
I've got a
taxing to
grounding mat on under my feet right now. Like I can't
I
sit at
mean,
my computer without my grounding mat.
but just to get things in check, you know, it all plays, but you can only start with one thing. You just got to start. You got to focus, especially for people who have issues with anxiety and depression. And don't don't look at what we're talking about like this huge, enormous thing. Start with magnesium, or start
Yeah.
with a light workout. Start with some stretches. You know, before you go to bed tonight,
Yeah.
stretch. You know, start with one thing. And we're not going anywhere. We're right here. So when you forget what we said, just go back and rewatch the episode. Or if you have extra questions, reach out to me, reach out to Chandler, reach out to Luke. And if we don't have the answer and we can't find you the answer, we'll point you in the right direction of somebody who can.
Mhm.
And because, like I said at the very beginning, we're not medical professionals here, but we know what's worked for us. We know what, you know, what Chandler, certainly you have worked with a tremendous amount of people in the store, and have learned what works for people and what doesn't. So we're here to help everybody. And with that, I'd like to wrap it up. And Chandler, do you have anything, last things you want to throw out there?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. You know, definitely thanks for having me. Can't thank you enough. Definitely want to just go quick over a little overview of certain things that can really help build the immune system, and then immune boosters very quickly.
Please do.
So, you know, just to finish it off, probiotics, definitely something to be looking into. Adequate protein, that's another big thing. Like, protein's key for immune function and just like overall immune tissue. Like one thing that can really be done and looked at, like amino acids just in general can really help with the immune system. But like methionine, you know, for example, like that can really help reduce like histamine levels in the blood, just alone. Like L-methionine, you know, and taking that out of the blood can help reduce like allergic reactions. And glutamine, like, is the most common amino acid, but that's needed for immune cells to grow. So even taking like a good quality glutamine, or you're getting a whole protein, like full spectrum, and getting complete protein is going to be key with that. And even sleep quality, you know, drinking a protein shake, or getting a good amount of protein in before bedtime is a really good way to keep sleep quality up. Can help your sleep quality in the sense where you're not waking up throughout the night, especially if your blood sugars are dipping throughout the night. Drinking a protein shake before bed, or getting good quality protein at nighttime is very good for sleep. Zinc, you know, that's a massive one right now. We're sold out of so much zinc at Healthy Planet. My buddy, my roommate, actually, his mom is working at the hospital in Las Vegas, and they're pushing zinc beyond belief there, as far as like a protocol to follow with what's going on right now. But the thing with zinc is if you take too much zinc, you know, that can also cause a lot of other issues too. So
copper, right?
copper, you know, that can really help balance it. But you know, zinc toxicity is a thing too. So men and women should both can even get your zinc levels checked or get your levels checked before supplementing. That's a big thing. Don't just be taking something because everybody else is doing it. If your levels are on point or are in a good range, then you need to take maintenance dosages versus like higher therapeutic dosaging. So that's a huge thing. You know, vitamin C, that's gonna really help immobilize microbes, like neutralize like microbial toxins. You know, like it's gonna increase your lymphocyte mobility, like can act as an antihistamine, you know, in high doses. So that's also a great option. You know, you're seeing a lot of these vitamin C's with quercetin or, you know, with the bioflavonoids. The bioflavonoids are huge. You know, you got to have those. Like they're water soluble, and can really help with absorption and getting antioxidants in there. So that's huge. Vitamin D can literally help increase like self-destruction of mutated cells. So that's massive, and can really help like stop the spread and reproduction of cancer cells. So like and other types of cells. So you know, the skin can produce vitamin D through UVB exposure, but we're not getting much sunlight. So getting a good quality vitamin D is very key for immune function. You know, vitamin A and vitamin E, big time. You know, you can easily look into supplementation for that, but you know, you don't want to take too much vitamin E either. Like don't exceed, you know, like 800 IU's of vitamin E a day, you know. So that's something that needs to be looked at as well. You know, getting again back into the EFAs, essential fatty acids, getting good whole fats, and other minerals like copper, iron, selenium, magnesium. You know, you don't want too much of those, but you do want to have enough to help maintain function. All of those will be very good for immune building. So, you know, for people who are immunocompromised or have immune function issues, those things can be really good for just building it without compromising the immune system or boosting it too heavily. You know, immune boosters, garlic, you know, inositol, like getting a good inositol supplement. It's a part of the B vitamin family. If you want to just get a full B vitamin complex, you can do that too, but getting larger doses of inositol are very key. So, you know, people should be looking into inositol as well. Glutathione, again, we were talking about that, but NEC and glutathione are huge for respiratory function right now. So like definitely look into that, and different plant sterols and sterolins. That's another thing. A lot of companies just have plant sterols available, like beta glucan. It's another thing that can really help with that. Aloe vera has really high vitamin C levels, like naturally. You know, silicone, beta carotene, zinc, boron, calcium, chromium, selenium, other immune boosting polysaccharides. So like aloe is great for that too. A lot of people don't know this either. Like red peppers, for example, like there's like more than twice the amount of vitamin C in a red pepper than there is in an orange. So like an orange and citrus fruits are also mucus forming. So, you know, that's not necessarily the best source of getting vitamin C in you as well. Like there's other fruits and vegetables that contain vitamin C that people can eat that have a lot of other phytonutrients to it, without causing the mucus. Because if we're trying to alleviate mucus buildup, you know, we can look into other methods than just citrus fruits for vitamin C. So, you know, so many different things, you know, echinacea, elderberry, different mushroom complexes are huge for immunomodulating, like chaga. You know, even Healthy Plant put together a little list. I can just take a quick little video here. One sec.
Luke, you're a big fan of the chaga. I know that.
Yeah, yeah. I've done a lot of research, and for me, chaga keeps coming up as, especially if God forbid, you are dealing with the virus in an acute matter, like higher doses of chaga are high dose vitamin C, high dose chaga. I've heard a lot of good things from people that I respect and trust.
Cool. Well, with Chandler, we'll let you sort of show us this thing here.
So Healthy Plant put together a cool little guide for just like cold and flu essentials. They have like a full little prevention section here. They got like the vitamin C's, some probiotics, oil of oregano. Oil of oregano is another one that I want to talk about too. Just a lot of people misuse oil of oregano. They take too much of it. It can actually kill your probiotics and kill a lot of good bacteria in your body. So oil of oregano, be careful. Do not overuse that. Do not take this every day. Take this at the onset of infection to help keep bacteria and infection at bay. But do not use this every single day. That's a big mistake a lot of people are using. So keep that in mind. They have like a little disinfection guide, different hand sanitizers and wipes and disinfection wipes and stuff like that. It's another thing too. A lot of people overusing hand sanitizer and just completely destroying their own microflora on their hands and
Yeah, you want to talk?
becoming even more susceptible to becoming sick, because then they're like there's a lot of issues with that too. I don't know if you can really read that, but it says their antiviral management. A lot of things have antiviral properties. Echinacea, elderberry, different silver products that are used a lot. Propolis, B propolis. They got their immune support little area here. So they got like aloe, they got quercetin, mushroom complexes, manuka honey, different buckwheat honey. And another thing too, buckwheat honey is a great form for antibacterial and antiseptic properties. Like it's actually been shown to be a lot higher than manuka honey in a lot of cases. So if you don't want to spend $100 on a bottle of manuka honey, look for a really good form of Siberian buckwheat honey or some good buckwheat honey, and you'll actually be surprised. Like a lot of the properties are double in some ways. So that's a great way to save some cash. But yeah, healthyplanet.canada.com. So again, www.healthyplanetcanada.com. Tons of education on that website. I cannot stress that enough. The amount of education on that website is insane. We have like another option here for how to make your own hand sanitizer. Sorry, I apologize for the quality here. But just using products in your store, like getting a base alcohol or witch hazel, aloe vera juice, vitamin E oil, lemon oil, tea tree oil, orange oil. I even put like a blend of like clove and rosemary and eucalyptus, and it's really just depends on how you want to do it.
Why lemon oil is sold? Lemon juice is sold out everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of antibacterial properties that it has. So it's they have like a full guide here, like on other different immune support products. Like we're really trying to push education here, but it's that's where it starts. People got to know what options there are, what they're taking, and be able to try different methods. If the first one didn't work, don't just give up. Sometimes people need to take something for 2 to 3 weeks before they notice a difference, but they stop just short of the 2 to 3 week mark, so they don't see the benefits. So it's like a lot of people just need to be consistent, diligent, and be open-minded, have an open heart, and just know that there's support everywhere. There's support in places you didn't know. And I do appreciate you opening up a big leeway for me to be able to express myself like this. But
You're welcome, brother.
like you said, don't be afraid to ask people. Like, I'm not even on commission. I can't stress that enough. Like I am not just trying to make sales for items. Like, I'm genuinely trying to help you as a person. So don't ever feel that, oh, this person is just trying to make commission. They're just trying to make commission. But it's, in a lot of cases, a lot of these companies don't even have commission programs set up. So don't ever worry about that as being a thing, because in most cases it's not. So
Yeah, and I get that every time I go to the store. Or, anytime I go to any of the natural stores, like I said earlier, you guys are investing each and every day in what you're learning, and just, you do it because you're passionate about it. It's the same in my industry, me and Luke's industry, right? I mean, we always say if you want to make $1 million in the music industry, start with 2, right? That's start with 2 million.
exactly.
It's just one of those things where uh, that's the thing is, I think, people do things. There's some people that do things for a job, and there's some people that do things because they're passionate about it, and money just comes as a part of that. And I believe that in a lot of cases, in a lot, Healthy Planet, many other stores in town, Homeopathy London, Lynn's, all these places, these people are passionate about what they do, and it's no different in the food industry. It's the same thing. Go to your local butcher, go to these people. These people are passionate about what they do, right? The farmers, they're very passionate about what they do, and learn from them, because they're the ones with the real information. Go, for lack of better terms, go to the horse's mouth, go right there and get the real information, right? Because that's where it's going to come from. Someone who's, someone who's working front lines at a grocery store is risking their life right now. So I definitely want to give
100%.
props to those people. No different than yourself. You guys are miracle workers as far as I'm concerned, but those are people that are there for a certain task and a certain thing. They're not necessarily, they're not necessarily going to be able to relay things like you, even with regards to something like red peppers versus oranges, right? That's something that you've gone to school, you've learned over time, and your focus is helping to heal. Like, you're a modern day witch doctor, man. So
Oh, come on.
there you go. It's all good. Well, Chandler, thank you so much for taking the time, especially after your long shift today. And I know you got to work probably again tomorrow. So thanks again for taking all the time to hang out with us and give us and all of our viewers all this amazing, incredible, life-changing information. And if people would like to reach out to you, I know you're on Facebook, so they can feel free to reach out to Be a Better Human. Post your comments. I'm sure Chandler will check back, and we'll answer anything that you guys, or if you're in the London area, if you're going to be in the London area at some point once you can leave your house, stop by Healthy Planet, say hi to Chandler and Dan and all the rest of the fine folks there, and support your local Healthy Planet or your local farm or your local health food store. Again, this is a time where we have to look inside and we have to support local, and as much as we can, and support the people around us, and work together and create positivity, empathy, love, and all those great things that me and Mr. Luke are going to keep preaching here on Be a Better Human. Luke, is there anything you want, last words here, you wanted to throw in?
No, just thank you very much, Chandler, for joining us. And I've been on this path for a long time, and I've definitely learned even more today. So I really appreciate that, and I think I speak for everyone who's watching that like, we are really grateful for you joining us today, and like, best of luck on the front lines out there, brother, and stay safe, and we will continue to support those who support everybody else. And if anybody does have any questions or comments, definitely drop us a DM, or drop a line in the comments, and we'll all get back to you.
Thanks so much, Chandler, once again. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, guys.
Again for
Amazing way to end it. Love and empathy, guys.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Okay, take care, man. All right, everybody. So stay tuned. We'll announce episode 3 shortly. Luke and I will be announcing shortly who our guests will be on the third episode. we'll do the third episode in a couple more days. So stay tuned to our Facebook and our Instagram for that. Please follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Be a Better Human Today. You can follow us on Instagram at the same thing. Please search Be a Better Human Today on Instagram. We now have our Instagram profile up and going. Everyone, please love, learn, and live, and be a better human each and every day. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and thanks for your time.